Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and in a rare occurrence, I am back with my co-host, Nick. What's up, Nick?
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
It's good to have you back.
Felt like I was going extinct or something, you know?
Yeah, the amount of intros, I mean, the two people who've been listening to this show will testify that the past few intros, the amount of times I just say, oh, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. It's Chris here. Nick's tied up with stuff. I'll have him back soon. I'll do a proper intro when he's back. That'll be soon.
Right.
And then
You didn't even bother
half a year later.
Right. Is it that long? 6 months?
Yeah, I think so. I think more or less. Because I think you and I were just saying before that I believe the Unwritten Law Scott Russo show was, I think that was the last one you did. And that was back in the summer.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I've been kind of busy, having a baby and stuff. So
absolutely.
So yeah, it's good to be back and I'll try and do as many of these as I can. But yeah, my life has changed significantly. So yeah, I was going to say, how have you been getting on rolling solo in the last few?
Yeah, it's been okay. I mean, and I've said this to a few guests, like you get into the rhythm of like you're used to doing it with someone else, so you kind of, you think about when you're going to ask the next question, and you know when. So I know when you're going to jump in and stuff. So you kind of have to be a lot more on your toes when you're just by yourself, because you're just like, particularly if it's with just one guest, like, okay, I need to have questions ready, otherwise we're just going to be sat here staring at each other at the screen,
It can be awkward. It can be an awkward place, can't it? Like depending on your guest, and especially if you don't you've had no contact with the guest before, other than just emails, or you've been speaking to a publicist or a PR person, and and they turn up and they're just they're just not very chatty. That's the biggest fear as a podcaster, right?
Yeah. But I suppose that comes with the territory. You need to be prepared to find ways to deal with that. But it's always nice when the guest is, well, one, really interesting, and two, quite engaging with you. So immediate example, the last guy who was on, Alex Melton, the YouTuber, I hadn't had any contact with him directly prior to it. It was all through a publicist. And he jumped on, and he was
That's mad. That guy has got a publicist.
Oh yeah,
a YouTube guy who's made a success from doing covers, and
it's crazy.
Summarize it for us in general. What's that episode in terms of him? It's very intriguing.
Because I was really interested in how someone. Because he kind of exploded during the pandemic, and now he's, as I said to him, anyone who's into this sort of music to any extent will know him. He will have popped up on their algorithm, so he's kind of a bit of a YouTube celebrity in our world, at least. So I was just really curious at how he went from being an unknown to being there, like what that journey looked like. So obviously, I asked him in detail, and because I was genuinely interested, and he was very informative about it. I'd be listening to him talking. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask him about that. I'm going to ask him about that. I'm going to ask him about that. So I'd have all loads of questions building up in my head alongside the notes that I kind of had ready. So that kind of made that easy in that respect.
I was going to say, what interests me as well about kind of that world is the money side, and how lucrative it is from a monetization perspective, but it's not really something you can ask someone, because it's a bit kind of you don't just ask a random how much they earned for a living, do you? It's it's rude, but actually you
can't.
But it's, I don't know, it would be interesting to know kind of what that world can generate from for him as from a personal perspective. But obviously he's doing. Is that his full-time thing? Is there anything else he does?
And obviously I can't outright ask what kind of figures he makes from it, but I mean, he must be comfortable at least. But I think it does come with a lot of work. He was talking me through his week, and so he tries to put out a cover every week, and the amount of time that goes into that is what a regular full-time job would be plus.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
So that was an interesting one, but yeah, so that's an example of when someone's very easy to talk to, and there's plenty to cover. But some, it can be a little hard. I mean, we've had plenty when it's both you and me, and it can be hard enough. So when it's one on one, yeah, you feel it a bit more. Going back to obviously, your life changing massively.
Yeah.
How's that affected, like, in terms of this podcast? Obviously, music-based podcast. Like, in terms of like the music you've been digesting the last few months, have you been able to keep on top of stuff at all, or like has that fallen by the wayside? How's that
Not
been?
really. I mean, I found myself on kind of social media less, and like just not bothering with. I don't know, like just time becomes a bit more precious, really, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, not massively. I've kind of always told myself, kind of having a child and a baby, that like music will be a big part of her life. I mean, she'll make that choice herself, but I will always kind of bring her up around music, and that was what it kind of. I was always gonna kind of do that. So we've been playing lots of music around us. There's been some pop punk in there as well. We had a bit of Jimmy Eat World on the other day that she quite enjoyed. But in terms of
what song?
I think it was just Middle. Yeah, Middle. That was on. It came on a random playlist. So yeah, I've been kind of playing lots of music to her, and but yeah, in terms of new stuff and kind of keeping in touch with what's happening. Yeah, I would say not so much, and that's why I'm going to rely on you to tell me what's what.
Yeah, well, listener, forgive us, because we were just kind of really just getting ready for the interview we had today, so we weren't doing what we used to do back in the day, preparing for intros where we'd be saying to each other, listen to this, and so we haven't done any of that this time. But it's crazy, we haven't even talked about like big things that have happened in our world the past few months, like Blink. We haven't even discussed that. I mean, not that I'm saying let's go into that now, but
Tom DeLonge.
yeah, so yeah, exactly. We'd just be like,
it was funny actually, and it kind of links to the parenting thing. I've kind of started listening to Rob Beckett and Josh Whittaker's Parenting Hell podcast. It's like one of the top kind of podcasts, and I did start listening to it before I had a child, but I felt like a fraud listening to it, so I kind of picked it up since I've had one. And what's his name? Justin. What's his name? He was in the Jungle. Justin, the one that was on Strictly. Justin, come on, you know who it is. We were going to try and get him on the podcast at one point.
Oh, do you mean Sean Walsh?
Oh, Sean Walsh. Where have I got Justin from?
Yeah, well, if you're saying the wrong fucking name at me, like, I did start went to the Jungle, and then sort of looking at me knowingly, I'm thinking, does he mean Sean Walsh? But his like Justin and Sean. Anyway, yeah, because I know that Sean Walsh is
a big Blink fan.
He is, yeah. So we've talked about him about being on the show before. In fact, try and reach out to him before again. But I know he's having.
Yeah, he's having a kid basically. So
yes,
I haven't had one yet. It's in like May or something. But he was on that podcast basically because they've started rather than just have parents on, they've started bringing prospective parents on, and the idea is that they would come and chat to them before, and then they chat to them kind of a few months down the line to kind of track back on everything they've said.
It's a good idea.
But Sean Walsh was talking about Blink 182 and the tour and Tom DeLonge and how basically his baby arrives literally when that tour is on.
Okay.
But he's basically got a pass from his wife. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're married. I'm pretty sure they are. Or his fiance, I think. So he's going out to somewhere in America, going to like either one of the first or the last dates on the tour, and he's just like, I had to put my foot down. Tom DeLonge's. Like, no, he said, I'm going to the start, like, there's one of the early ones, because he doesn't think that Tom DeLonge is going to see out the whole thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But yeah, he's like kind of got a pass from the wife and just said, I think his baby will be like a couple of months old, but they just basically said that it's happening. I'm going. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that? Do you agree with him? And do you think Tom will be in? Will do the whole thing and see it out? And
be careful what I say here. Well, I say that like Blink's team are going to be listening to this. So, I wasn't as thrilled about it as other Blink fans were, but I think things had come to an end with Skiba. Like the best of that dynamic had already played out. So I get that they kind of had to go back to DeLong, and it would have been weird to get someone else in. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that would have looked weird. And I think financially for them it made sense because it kind of it's drawn all this attention, and like there's people who aren't bothered about the band, at all. People who had a passing interest years ago. Everyone wants tickets to this tour, so it's been a good kind of good marketing move at least.
Yeah, well, they kind of cited Mark's cancer, didn't they, as the kind of reason, or Tom's reason to kind of, look at it again and kind of take the opportunity. But yeah, are you going? Are you got a ticket for the London show? Or?
No, so I am going, but I didn't know I hadn't told you this. So I didn't even bother trying to get tickets. I know people who did, and it was just impossible. But our friend Chris Gregory, shout out to him, who lives in Dubai. He's kind of who's also recently become a father, doing a bit of the Sean Walsh thing, and he's like, I'm definitely going. So he's very kindly bought tickets for myself and my wife for the Copenhagen show. So we're going to the Copenhagen one in sort of mid-September.
And you get a nice little trip away out of it as well.
Yeah,
Copenhagen's a cool city.
Exactly. Yeah, so it should be good.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get that pass, but
fair enough. I like how you kind of. I mean, we're going back a few months. This is catching up a little bit, I suppose, to be fair. But you put some feelers out for another thing that I think you and I would have given anything to go to. But We Were Young Fest 2, which lineup, I think, with our taste, is almost like a perfect lineup. But Vegas in October, maybe a bit of a tricky one.
I don't know. We can maybe make it work. Again, I don't know if you get a ticket for that, because tickets went off the shelf like immediately for the first one, didn't they?
They did. I'm sure we could find a way if we wanted to.
Yeah, well, there's a will, there's a way. There must be some bands we've spoken to that are on that bill as well.
Oh, there definitely is. There's a good handful.
Yeah.
So just think, who do we know the best? Who did we get on with the best out of all those people?
I guess a flight to Vegas from London's probably not astronomical either. Like they're probably pretty regular, are they?
Yeah. It wouldn't be outrageous.
Or like 500 quid?
Maybe, more or less, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's not rule it out just yet.
Let's not rule it out, yeah. But yeah, not much in the way of gigs. I will get along to Grade 2 though, so I'm looking forward to just having a night out and checking those boys out in March. What about you? Anything else going on?
No, I don't think so. I think the only gig I have coming up is Grade 2 as well. So yeah, I think maybe that's an appropriate time to end this intro and on that subject, because we were once again joined by Sid, one of the vocalists in Grade 2. I think I can safely say is a pal of ours now. Very kindly gave us some time just on the week of their album coming out, and then hitting the road again for a long time. So here he is. We're joined by our friend Sid from Grade 2, returning to the show. Thanks for coming back, Sid.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Of course, anytime. And also, this is a weird one for me because, so Sid basically, Nick's had his first child comparatively recently. So I've done a lot of these shows solo to keep this going the last few months. So this is Nick's first show back since the summer. So it's it's good to have you back, Nick.
And
congratulations!
Thank you. And I missed the first one with you guys last time as well. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because that was just before the Social Detour, wasn't it? And then we were chatting then. Yeah, I remember.
It was literally like the week before, I think.
Nick's like the drummers. He's a slacker.
I can't actually remember why I bailed. Chris, I'm sure you've got a good memory. You can probably remember what my excuse was.
Some work thing came, because it was on a Friday afternoon, sort of like early Friday afternoon. You had a work thing that came up.
I'm actually, work's a nightmare for me in general, but that Newcastle gig, I'm definitely going to get down for it, but I've got to be in Warrington for like 8 o'clock, so I've got to go from the northeast to the northwest first thing in the morning. I think you're in Newcastle on the Tuesday.
Nothing like a weekday gig to like completely fuck up your schedule.
So yeah, I'm travelling early doors on the Wednesday morning, so I won't be able to party too hard on the Tuesday night, but I'll definitely get along. But I guess we can chat about that tour and stuff like that.
Yeah. Weekday gigs are funny though. Everyone kind of says the same thing. It's like, yeah, I'll come down, but I've got to leave early. And then you always get that one person that rocks up and gets absolutely bladdered. And it's like, oh, fucking hell, I've got to be in work at 7 a.m.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's good to see you in Hamburg anyway. Yeah,
that's right.
That was an awesome tour, right? I mean, how was that?
God, bloody hell. Yeah, it was mad in a lot of aspects. I mean, like, we basically played every day. Like, any day off that Social Distortion took, we filled it with another show. And that's like kind of how we've always done it. It's always been like full throttle. But what we didn't take into consideration is we haven't toured in 2 years. So it's just like we put this tour and we got like 4 days in, maybe 5 days in, we all got really ill. I blew my voice out and I was like, oh no, we haven't got a day off for like 3 weeks. So I remember we got to Helsinki and I was trying like everything, gargling salt water. I got like the catering crew that was there to boil me water in a bowl to do that like steaming trick. Like, you know, like
like vapor.
I was doing everything and it's like it worked. I mean, I had my voice for the set, but like any time there wasn't like a verse or a chorus, I was basically turning around to face Jacob and just coughing in his face like I'm fucking dying right now. Like, but like still trying to look professional. And he's like absolutely cursing me, like, you're gonna get me ill. And I'm like, oh no, but I'm trying not to like let everyone know. So that was mad in like terms of trying to get better while on the tour. But the whole thing was just like nuts. And I think like we've made mates with Lovebreakers now. Like they're been friends forever now. You've spent like your 3 months with them. It's like that's the cool aspect about being on a tour that's like that long. It's like you're forced into these like friendships. It's like you're going to get to know me now for the next 9 weeks, whether you like it or not. But they were wicked. It was a wicked tour.
Have you ever done one of those tours where you like a long run where you've really just not gelled or got on with the other band? I mean, you don't have to name anyone, but is it actually happened?
Not that we haven't got on with, but we did one tour. It was like pretty nuts. It wasn't as long. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks, but it was 3 bands in one van. Like we shared a van.
Oh,
it was like these 4 rows of seats, and it was just like you couldn't stretch out in the van. Every seat was full. So like we were doing some ridiculous drives, like 10-hour drives, and you all sat there like, fucking hell, like my legs hurt, my back hurts. I want to try to sleep, but you're all talking. But the only blessing is one of the bands that was on the tour had a girl in the band, so no one farted in the van. the band was actually like, it was good in that aspect. But fuck man, I could never do that again.
Yeah, and I suppose when it's like illnesses as well, like you're just in a capsule of like everyone else's germs and.
Oh yeah, one person gets it, you're all getting it. Like there's no 2 ways about it.
Mike Ness actually, he called off shows on that run, didn't he? He lost his voice.
Yeah, shit.
It was Hamburg, wasn't it? Like it was almost his last one.
Yeah, I can't remember where he was supposed to be the next day. I think was it Bremen?
It was Bremen.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I remember we didn't know until that night he announced it. And it was just like, oh right, shit, I guess tomorrow's cancelled then. Like,
yeah, it was awkward. I was in a slightly awkward position because I went to talk to the tour manager Larry about something unrelated. And in that moment, he was like, "Close the door," And I think, what was Mike's assistant called? Was it Christian? He was in the room, and they were just saying, Larry's like, he can't do Bremen Pull It.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, can I tell the boys? He's like, nah, just keep it to yourself now. But it's going to become quite apparent for them quite soon. And then obviously Mike Ness announced it on stage.
She's going to drop that bomb on you, but no, you can't share it.
Yeah, exactly.
He did all right at the Hamburg gig as well. I don't think many of the crowd like picked up on the fact he was. I mean, he obviously wasn't on his best form, but like he pulled it out the bag, like.
Yeah, the other two covered it as well. I remember like when it was hitting certain choruses, like they just bumped up their mic volume and covered it with harmonies, which was quite a clever trick. But I mean, it is hard, like especially if you've blown your voice, and it's like you actually end up pushing even harder, like trying to basically compensate, and then you just basically fuck it even more. So I think the fact they cancelled it was probably wise. Although at the time we were gutted, it was just like, it's like the last, because that was due to be the last date in mainland Europe. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, did you manage to jump on a show the next night, or did you just cut your losses and head home? Can you remember?
I think we played 3 more on the way home, and we ended up joining them on a festival we played the day before that we wasn't booked on because Phil Campbell from Motorhead, he was supposed to play, but he got COVID, so they pulled off this festival, and we ended up getting like, bumped onto this festival like last minute. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how many people knew that he cancelled, and then like they're all kind of like rocking up to the stage ready for his set, and then like our backdrop went up, and you could kind of see people's reaction, like get the like little time sheets out, just like looking at the stage, like, okay. The people stuck about, but yeah, definitely weren't what they were expecting.
But I mean, have you picked up much of a new following off the back of that tour? I know we were at the merch stand a little bit afterwards, and you seem to be getting loads of attention from like the locals around there, and they're really like into what you had done.
It's interesting when you're playing to another band's following, because they're going to pick up on certain aspects that maybe you didn't necessarily think of. And there was a lot of people that were coming up to us at the end that were comparing certain songs with The Clash. So like the Social Distortion fan base definitely has a love for like the earlier punk, and they were like pulling points from that. And it was like, okay, like if you're hearing that, then I'm going to run with it. Like, let's go. But we've not really played many shows since that. So we're only really seeing it on social media, kind of people like, we saw you there, have grabbed tickets for this. So I think it won't be until we tour and get chatting with people that we'll realise that they were on that tour. But I feel like, we definitely noticed like a lot of influx of their fan base, like which is like the whole thing of going on a tour like that. It's just basically poaching their fan base as much as possible.
Of course.
But I hope so. I mean, we'll see what happens from it.
Obviously, at the time of recording, we've got we're not far at all from the new album release, which we'll come to very shortly. But I suppose I'm just curious. So you mentioned you haven't played many shows since that tour wrapped up, and obviously there's been a few single releases from the upcoming album. But like, just can you give us kind of like a broad summary of like how the last half of last year looked for you guys, and you know what you were busy with, I guess, like band wise and outside of it.
So we finished that tour, and then we actually went straight back out to Europe like 8 days later, and we did a small run in France. I think we played 2 festivals and maybe 2 club shows.
Right.
And then I think we maybe did like 3 or 4 more gigs, so 2 more festivals, and then 1 more in Germany, and that was it. Like we were done gigging by the end of August. Like we haven't played since about, I think it was August 22nd was our last gig. We come home straight off that and filmed. We drove from the middle of Germany down to Falmouth like in 2 days to film Doing Time.
Oh, you filmed Doing Time in Falmouth?
Yeah, we were in
that's where my parents and brother live randomly.
Honestly, it was like we drove all the way back to the Isle of Wight, but we were the furthest point from the Isle of Wight. It just felt the same place. It was nuts. We filmed, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's like one of those companies that upload your music to Spotify.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but they let us use their office to film that. So we did that.
Oh, nice.
End of August. Then we kind of fell pretty quiet for a bit, to be honest. We didn't do the new video for Under the Streetlight until October.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because that came out in November. Yeah, so we did that in October, and that was it, to be honest. Like, we haven't really done much else. Like, we've been rehearsing quite a bit. Like, we basically recorded the album and then didn't play it for about 7 months. And it was like, okay, like, let's learn our own album again before it comes out. So we've been doing that, and that's kind of it, really. We've just been like, we were caught in a situation of there were so many rescheduled gigs still happening post-COVID, and that we were so close to an album release. It was like a weird point of, do we tour again, but then have to release a record, and everyone's like, well, I've only just seen them. Or do we just kind of like hold our horses and start this year, which is what we ended up going for. I'm glad we did it that way, but I am very bored being at home now. It's just like this constant countdown, like waiting to go. It's like
you say Jack's at work. What kind of? I mean, are you just what kind of work you're doing in like the Isle of Wight? What's available to you? Just do kind of short term before like tours? Are you just picking up anything?
But yeah, basically, I mean, it's like quick. I would say cash in hand, but nothing is cash in hand anymore. Jack's on the bar. He works a bar job, but he hasn't been there much really. Like he was doing it a bit when we come off the tour, and the Isle of Wight falls so quiet through like December, January, February. Basically, if you want a night out, the pub will only stay open if there's like so many people in there, and if they aren't in there by like 10, it'll shut. So like you could be in a massive group, be like, oh yeah, we've had a beers at my mate's house, I'm going to go out now, and it's gone 10. Everything will be shut already because there was no one in there. So it's like he had no hours to do that, and we've all been in this like weird limbo of just like, we know stuff's coming up, so we're going to be busy, but it's January and February, the most bleak months on the Isle of Wight, and we've got nothing to do. It's been a weird few weeks.
You mentioned before we started recording how it was your drummer Jacob's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Jacob! Were you involved in the celebrations for that yesterday?
Yeah, we did an interview at about 2. I was still trying to pull myself together to get on the phone. I was like, Christ, I had like bedhead all sticking up. I was just like, are we going to be using the film from this, or are you just going to transcript it? It's transcript, luckily. I was like, God, Christ, because I'm dying right now. Big bottle of water sorting me out right now.
What did you get up to? Just local pub or?
Well, we actually had rehearsal yesterday. We kind of stitched Jacob up a bit. It was just like, yeah, you're going to have to put in a bit of a shift before you can go out. But we didn't get out until like 9:15. So we ended up like catching up with no one. We were just like, well, everything's going to shut soon. So like, quick. And stumbled in at about 2:30. Nice little shindig.
Good effort.
So I mean, I actually listened to the last episode you did with Chris, and Chris, I remember Chris asking you like, what would be your dream tour? Like you were talking about Social Distortion, Interrupters, and Dropkicks and all that good stuff. But he said like, kind of, what would be a dream tour? And you both said Rancid, and Jack kind of said it would be Rancid, but there was almost a tone in his voice that suggested that tour was already being discussed and in the works. So I don't know if you can confirm or deny that. But yeah, I mean, in general, kind of,
it was.
How are you feeling about that
at that point? I wish it was, but that only come about. It was pretty recent actually. It was like close to the announcement. Like we got an email and it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to be announced next week. I was like, whoa, shit, okay. But yeah, I got to admit, I remember again, it was in January or maybe it's December. It's just like, God, everything's bleak, nothing's going on. I was on my way to be an extra in an Indian film.
Really?
I was like on the bus going there, and I got an email come through, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, it's just like Rancid and Capitals Europe tour. as I buzzed the boys, I was like, "Fuck me, have you seen this?" Like, and we're all typing to each other in capitals, like, "Holy fuck!" Before we'd even confirmed it, they could have turned around and then gone, "Actually, change your plans." But we were already like shitting our knickers that it was like come through. But yeah, honestly,
yeah. I mean, had you done any kind of? Was there any warming up of Tim or Larks? I know you got kind of worked with him and got contacts, but was it just an out of the blue email? Like there was no.
Yeah, we didn't know they were coming over. I mean, I saw that they were announced for, I think it was Mighty Sounds, and I kind of assumed, I was like, right, they've got to be doing something. There's no way they're just going to come over for one festival. So I was like, is it just going to be like a few festival appearances, or how are they going to do this? And it was like, there was a few more that were announced, and I was just like, kind of watching it. And for me, I was actually just hoping to go see them. I was like, come on, like, announce a UK date.
Yeah.
And it's, getting that was just, I don't know, mind blowing.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge. I mean, Sid, how many people can say that sentence? So I was on the bus to be an extra in an Indian film, and then I got an email to say I'm going to be supporting Rancid. Just want to take a moment to acknowledge that the randomness and the awesomeness of that.
Yeah, we got a friend here, and she's involved in like, I don't know how it come about, but there's been a lot of filming on the Isle of Wight recently. Like the BBC come down here, and they did like a series down here, and that's how I got into it. And I got this like random message, just like, "You available tomorrow for like 10 hours work?" I was like, "Yeah, all right. What have I got to do?" And she was just like, "You've just got to walk." I was like, "Is that it?" I was like, "All right." And then it was the same message. I was on a night out, and I replied at like, it was late again, like probably 2 a.m. Like, "Yeah, sure thing, I'll be there tomorrow." Woke up, I was like, "Fuck, what have I agreed to?" Like, absolutely hanging. Like, okay, I've got to go be in an Indian film. Got there, and it was just like the same thing, just walking basically. But yeah, that whole day I was just there, like, holy shit. I was in a totally different place. I was just like, whoa. But yeah, I'll get up to some interesting things while I'm home.
Yeah, I'll say. Love it.
Got take any opportunity that comes your way. I get speedy by the sounds of it this time of year.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ever see this Indian film come out, spot me walking. I'll be in the background somewhere.
Right. We'll look out for it. So I guess, I mean, we can talk about what you talk about, the release or the new album, and then you've got your headline tour pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you talked a little bit about the record and the writing, because obviously it was a while ago on the last podcast. But kind of, how are you feeling about that now? Are you ready to go? Have you got everything lined up? And are you ready?
I think so. I mean, there's definitely like that pre-nerves. I think the response to the singles has been really cool. Like, you're always gonna back your own work and be like, yeah, like, I'm very proud of this. Like, this is what we've been working on. But it's like, you never know what anyone else is gonna think. And it's very easy for people to turn around and just go, "Oh, that was shit." And then it's like, I've been working on that for years. Like, so I think there's like that kind of nerves of just being like, okay, this is like a big project. Like, it was like the whole pandemic, pre-pandemic, like a lot of time went into it. I mean, I guess that's the same for anyone making a record. But I think that's what builds the nerve side of thing, of just like, okay, now this is going to be out there. But again, like, very proud of it, ready for it to be out. Because I think we've definitely matured as the band's got older. And I feel like this is the point of the band where it's like, we've reached the sound and writing style that we've been trying to achieve. And it's like, lyrically, it's all very like meaningful personal experiences. So there isn't a song on it that we're like, oh, did that one need to be on there? It's like each one you can kind of like back solidly and just be like there's 15 songs as well. So I mean, that was like, when you're getting into that many songs, it's like some people be like, oh, bit long, probably like pick out a few. But like it only runs for about 34 minutes, so it's still a short record in terms of time, but it reads like a longer record. But yeah, ready to get it out there and start this like next I guess like the next chapter of the band. Really feels like we had the pause of like the pandemic of just like what's next, and now it's kind of like foot to the floor. Well, let's go out the gates, and we're ready to do it, kind of thing.
Obviously, I've heard all the songs you've released, but I'm excited to hear this when I come out. I'm just like, I've got the credits up on Tidal for it, and it's it looks like most of the songs. It says, when I say that, there's a few songs. No, most songs are written just by the three of you, but there's a few that Tim's got a writing credit on.
Yeah, there's 12 are written all by us, and then there's 3 co-writes. Doesn't matter much now is a co-write with Tim and a guy called Alex, Orange Drink, and then there's
I can see
Don't Stand Alone, which is the end of the A side. That's a co-write with Tim, and then the final track, Bottom Shelf, is a co-write with Tim and Jesse Michaels. That's the co-writes we've done for this one.
Do you have a favourite on the record?
A favourite track in general?
Yeah. Sorry,
that's tough. I'll go with "It's a Mad World, Baby" on the B side. That's going to take the cake for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone with an album one, not a single. I love all the singles.
Yeah.
I think love all of them, but lyrically, I think Mad World takes it for me.
So, headline tour to pretty much slam that record home, right? How many dates are you doing? And you've already sold out a couple of venues already on that tour.
We sold out our hometown one. There's a few that are close. It's like close. I think we're about 3 weeks out now. We're doing 17 dates in the UK, no days off. Wow. May I add? That's going to be an absolute stint. And then we've got...
That's how you like to do it.
No, I say that now. Check in with me at the end of it. And then we've got 2 days off to travel, and then we're doing, I think it's 26 in Europe. Again, no days off.
26 off the belt?
Yeah, we're going all in. I think it's 26. There's a few still to be announced because we've just added an extra week. And it's all in France, actually. We're doing like nine shows all in France to finish it. We've got Death by Stereo coming over for the Europe leg as well.
Yeah,
that's going to be sick. But yeah, we're kind of again jumping in head first and just going full throttle. I mean, we got 2 gigs next week. We're doing one in Kingston for the record release, and then we got
I'll see you.
Oh yeah, you're coming down, right? Wicked.
Yeah.
And then we got our hometown on the Saturday, and then nice. I think it's like 2 weeks, and then the actual tour starts.
Yeah.
So yeah, busy.
You talked last time about kind of France being where you guys really kind of kick things off outside, because Isle of Wight, not much going on, and you started in France. Given you started there, do you find that going back there now, you've got a real solid base to work with, and you see you've got quite a few dates?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we went over there, and there was like a brief period at the start of the band where we went back for quite a few shows, like mainly weekend ones, and then like we just didn't go back there for ages. There wasn't like a reason for it. It just like never really come up on tour routines, and now suddenly it's like we're nearly playing it as much as the UK. We played there was a Social D date there in Paris, and then we went back and we played Paris again, like literally 2 weeks later, I think it was. We played this boat. It was like an actual barge. And we played it with Anti-Flag. And I think like that was where the word kind of started to spread. It was weird because it wasn't like a huge gig. It was probably like 400-500 people. But like there was just this like wave of like messages from people in France, just like, are you going to be playing this? Are you going to be doing that? Heard about the set at this show, and it was like, whoa, holy shit, like what's going on here? And like there was like a load of clips that went up like from the set, and it was just like one of those nights. Like there was a band called The Decline from Australia that opened it, and when you're at a gig and you can just feel it. It's like this night is just going to be like electric, and it was start to finish. All 4 bands, like the crowd was just nuts. Like, what it was, honestly, I would say it's probably my favourite show we've ever played. And it was like, whoa, like, the boat's like rocking and everything. I'm like, holy shit. And I don't know, I think like we started booking this tour, and the guy that booked us for that show was like, yeah, we're going to do the whole of France. And it just escalated from there. I don't know, I'm really looking forward to that like leg of it, because it's come like out of nowhere really quickly, and I'm like kind of intrigued to see what that leads to.
Yeah, definitely. Did you get to interact with Anti-Flag much that night? If so, had you met them before? Did you know them at all?
So we were actually meant to tour in 2020 across the States, and we played one show, and that was it. And then everything was cancelled. That night, like, it was the first night of the tour, so it was mainly just introductions. It was like, welcome to the tour, like, good to meet you. Because we were still like figuring stuff out as well. Like, for that tour, our van didn't even get across the border, so we were like completely stiffed with like equipment and everything. And then we got to Montreal the next day, and that was when I think Canada went into lockdown that day. And it was just kind of like, that was when we all sat down and were like, right, what do we do? And then seeing them in Paris, so this is like fast forward 2.5 years, it was like, oh shit, good to see you again. And it was kind of just like a strange catch up of like, what happened with you after that tour then? Like, so it was kind of a funny catch up, because we never really got to know each other at that point. But then it already feels like you knew each other, because we were both stuck in this exact same spot. But as people, they are all the most genuine, lovely people. Like, we then played with them again a few weeks later in Germany, and just every encounter with them is like, them and their crew look out for everyone. They were constantly like making sure that we were good as well as them being set. And it's like, that they don't need to do that. They could have easily just been like, right, see you later. But they were like, no, anything you need, if you need help with this, let us know, we'll do it. And it's like little touches like that is like when that band will forever be memorable to like someone in our position, because like I said, they don't need to go out their way. But yeah, very cool guys, and their live show is immense.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, we've been wanting them on this show.
yeah, we have tried, haven't we, to book them, but seen them at Slam Dunk, but never actually seen them at a proper venue.
Have you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing them on that boat that night, the boat, I can't even explain it. It was like literally rocking to the point of like you could feel seasick. Like, it was like you'd be standing. If you stood there with a beer, your beer would literally just be like, it was nuts.
Talking of Slam Dunk, has that ever been kind of on your kind of list? Have you? Like, they don't really book much in terms of like proper like oi punk kind of stuff, do they? Really? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely on our list to do. I can't, we're away for the one this year, because we were talking about it. I don't know whether it was like an offer or if it was like an initial idea, but like those dates were already filled. It's one I'd want to go to as a punter. Like, everything I hear about it is just like, it's one of those things that you got to get to it. Like, it's great. But if we had the chance to play it, like, I wouldn't be turning it down.
So where on the headline tour are you kind of looking forward to the most in terms of kind of UK, mainland UK?
I'm looking forward to going to Wales. First time we've ever been there, so that'll be cool. We're doing Belfast on St. Patrick's Day, so I think that one's going to be pretty mad. We're kind of like all talking to each other, and it's like, we've got to be sensible. We've got a gig the next day, and then everyone else is kind of like, but it's St. Patrick's Day, so we'll see what happens with that one. Like, that could be the end of us at that point, but we'll see.
I don't think any proper Northern Irish fans are going to let you turn in for an early night.
I've already heard about it. Like, they're like, yeah, we've got the Buckfast ready, and it's like, oh god. So I already know we're going to be getting on that ferry the next morning, dying, and it's pretty rocky. I don't know if you've ever been on it, so
No, just flown over there.
Yeah, it's the best race of it.
Newcastle, of course. Looking forward to that one.
Yes, yeah, we haven't been. We've not been to Newcastle, and we've only ever played there once actually, and that was with the Interrupters.
All right, okay.
You would have been at that show, Nick, would you?
It was at the university, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, might have been then. Yeah, the downstairs basement.
Yeah, and it's got like
venue.
it's like the ceiling's really low.
I was at that, but I came with the wife, so I was really late. We'd gone for dinner, so I probably had missed you at the time.
Oh, excuses.
I'll be there in March. Don't you worry. Even with my early start the next day.
No, I'm really looking forward to coming back. Actually, the whole experience there was wicked. And I've heard that the venue's pretty cool as well. Was it the Lubber Find? Was that it?
Something I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with it either. I think it's quite a new like arts creative space.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it'd be good to kind of check it out myself. So.
No, wicked. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm excited for that one. It'll be good.
And then so headline tours out the way. You know, albums released, and then you got this Rancid tour. That the venues must be pretty significant on that tour, right? I haven't.
Yeah,
seen
some of them were on the Social D run actually. There's one in Warsaw that was on the Social Distortion tour.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's one of the ones in Germany as well. But yeah, they're big rooms. It's like
big cap venues.
Yeah. It's kind of like that pre-thought of just like, oh bloody hell, it's going to be a lot. Like we had the chance to play Brixton a few years ago with the Dropkicks. And I think like as amazing as that tour was, I don't know if we were like completely ready for it. Like you're stepping out on a stage to like 5,000 people, and it's like prior to like, don't get me wrong, like we'd had our chance to play to like a big crowd at like a festival and stuff like that, but there's something different when it's indoors and it's just like that many people in a room. It's like to control an audience when you don't know how to. And that size was just like it was hard. I mean, I guess it's like you've got to learn to do it. So in that sense, it was like there was a lot to take away and be like, okay, this is how we could be better in a venue this size. But I remember bricking it like that night, just being like, fucking hell, this room is huge. And it was like the last night of the tour, so a lot of the members of the Dropkicks were watching the set, and I remember playing a song and having the worst voice break of my life. Standing like just like went sky high. I was like, oh, cock it. Like everyone heard that. And that's like my one memory of Brixton. Like everyone hearing that god awful voice break. But ready to go back and make amends for that.
Something I haven't asked you before that just comes to mind. Every time I've seen you live, like in between songs, I think it's always you that addresses the crowd and does like the kind of banter or whatever, and it's never Jack. Has that always been the case? Is that you guys consciously?
No, I think in the earlier days of us doing it, we kind of would both speak, but there would be times of just like in between songs that we would kind of be lost as to what to do. It's like, for one point, we'd both be absolutely dying because we used to play our songs at about 200 miles an hour. Like, it was always way, way, way too quick. And I don't know, I think just always, like, there would always be that nerves of just like, okay, like, what do we say now? And I think it kind of all came out. We played a hometown gig here in kind of the middle of the pandemic, when things were like, I think it was like you could have 50% of the venue capacity. I think that's what it was. And it was Jack's birthday that night. And I kind of just had this idea. I was like, okay, what if I just grab the mic, kind of walk to the middle of the stage and then talk and see like how that goes down. I'd already had a few beers before I went on because it was his birthday. So like a bit of Dutch courage. And I was like, I kind of finished the set that night. I was like, oh shit, that actually worked quite well. And we all kind of spoke about it afterwards and was like, that filled that middle gap of just like having the middle of the stage actually filled like as a free piece that is always empty. And then it was like that connection with everyone rather than just being like the guy stood on the stage just there to perform. But again, I think that took quite a few shows to like come into itself, because then it's like you get to the point of like, what am I actually gonna say? Like, I'm stood here now with the mic, away from the mic stand, and I've got nothing to say.
Yeah.
So it's like figuring that out as well. And I think once we started doing that, it kind of just subconsciously happened that I would be the one to talk, and it just, there was never you don't talk, I talk. It just like it was one of those things that just like naturally progressed, and yeah, just kept running with it really.
I suppose when you're doing like tours with Dropkicks, Interrupters, Social Distortion as well, surely like you see them every night and you see them doing it and you learn a bit. And
That
like,
is exactly it. Honestly,
masters
it was
the
just
game.
penciling notes. It was the same with so me and Jack both play wireless live, and we'll swap mics like to keep moving.
Oh, that's right.
And that was from watching hardcore bands. Like, I remember, I think it was Agnostic Front, and I remember seeing them do it. I was just like, that was pretty cool. Like, it just was like, oh shit, oh, he's over here now. So like you've like just got people on their toes, and I think it kind of helps to get the crowd moving as well if you're moving, and it's just like we'll bring up that energy a little bit. And the same with touring with like all of those bands, like the way that they engage with the crowd each night was just like, it was good to, it was just like studying their set basically. I remember like with the Interrupters kind of watching Kevin, and the way that he holds the crowd's attention between songs was just like, he's got them captured for the whole hour 10. Like some little skits in between where he's telling like a whole family story, or even just like little introductions. And it's like, it was never too much. It wasn't like, oh, he's rambling a bit now. It was always just like perfect point.
Just linking it all together.
So I remember watching, and like the same with Ken Casey and the Dropkicks, just like he talks like a boxing promoter, like the really just hypes the crowd. And I was the same thing. I was just like, he's got them from the get go. Like regardless of the music and everyone knowing the songs, his presence has captured the audience. And it was like, it'd be like coming home and like watching that same set on YouTube, just like, what was he doing there? That was cool. And like with any band really, and just trying to like kind of like put our own spin on it in a way. It's like rock school right there.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I mean, Hamburg, that was a pretty decent sized venue, and I was pretty blown away by your set there.
Yeah,
so,
that room was massive. I remember like just being like, bloody hell, like the amount of like layers up going up. So Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got like a preference in terms of like, I guess there's pros and cons to both in terms of like your small like headline tour versus like a big cap venue tour with, you know, supporting some big bands? Or do you just like how is it good just to have that mix?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes the smaller ones are harder to engage with people, because it's just like, if they don't bite, it's like, whoa, shit, we are literally face to face right now, and it's like I'm just getting a blank look back, and I can see it clear as day. So like when you're trying that thing in a small venue, it's like you've really got to go in it with confidence, because if you like back out of it a little bit, it becomes awkward for everyone involved. It's just like, oh, why do you do that? But like with the big rooms, it's like there's so many heads. It's like I don't know. I kind of get lost of just like where to look. So then it's like back just down to the front row and like try and engage with people as close as possible to try and create the small venue feel. So it's weird because it's like, I'm saying at one point it's like the small venue's hard, but then you're on a big stage trying to create that small venue feel. But yeah, I think there definitely are like pros and cons to both. Like, for example, the Hamburg show, I remember the sound was like on stage was just so big. It felt like at points I was like, am I even playing in time? Like, is the snares like echoing that much? I'm like, fuck, I can't hear shit. Like, if you step out from that monitor, it's like the sound is traveling so much. It was just weird. So that was a strange experience, because like I don't think we've played in a room that is that tall. So the sound was just massive. But again, I mean, that's now like one to take under our belt and just be like, get ready for that if that ever happens again. Like, stick to your monitor and try not to get lost.
Yeah, I suppose you got the bonus of catering and all those good things that come with the big tours.
God,
as well.
mate, I don't think I've ever eaten so good in my life on that tour. Every day I was just like, I'm actually eating 5 a day. I'm eating my vegetables right now. I can't believe it. Yeah, that.
It must save you a bit on cost though, right? Compared to like just doing your own thing.
Yeah, like, true. I mean, if we're like buying out, we try and keep it as cheap as possible, and I think that's why it always ends up as fast food. Like, you're just always. Sure. If we're in the UK, we're in spoons. Like, burger and a pint, £6. Like, it becomes very unhealthy very quick, and it's like that's kind of a hard thing to get out of. It's like, oh, do we spend extra for a decent dinner? It's like, nah, we'll go back to spoons. Like, and I think every band will vouch for that. Like, I think everyone does the exact same thing. Yeah. I think that Dropkicks tour we did, I think we had a spoons breakfast every day of that tour. By the end of it, I never wanted to step foot in spoons again.
Nice. Well, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you got any plans tonight to cure that hangover, like. But I guess we can kind of wrap
I'm working
up.
On it.
I guess before you go, like, I mean, just a new release. How would, if you had to kind of summarize it in like a few kind of words for our listeners? What, you know?
Do you know what? This is the hardest question that we're ever asked. It's like, I never know how to sell it. I'm just like, oh, you should listen to this. I don't know. I think album releases are funny in this day and age because it's like you have the diehard listeners that will listen to the album front to back that like still love an album, but then there's people that will just like pick a few tracks out on Spotify and chuck it in a playlist. But I think the record as a whole, there is something for everyone. I think it pulls from different elements, like different waves of like the punk eras from like the 70s, 80s into the American 90s punk. I think there's like elements of Britpop that kind of run through it into like the early Arctic Monkeys kind of sound. So I think if you are like finding us, I think there will be a track on there for you. But if you've already known us, I think album front to back will be for you as well.
I'll you're doing it on vinyl, aren't you?
Yes, yeah.
On vinyl.
Vinyl was the best way. That's my opinion.
I'll pick up one of those when I see you guys in.
Oh yeah, wicked.
Nice. Well, Sid, always good to see you, my friend, and we really appreciate your time today. And well, I'll see you this coming Friday, but I'll probably be in touch with you before then.